This is my slightly used and a little bit dirty Tesla Model S, and this is a brand spanking new Volkswagen ID.7. And I want to find out, should I be chopping in this aging Tesla and replacing it with this? Does it have better tech? Is it nicer to drive? Is it as exciting? Ooh, you can feel the rear wheels skidding up a bit. And of course, how good is the range? Now, Volkswagen is claiming that this ID.7 has 384 miles between charges, which is a lot of range. In fact, that's close to the Tesla Model 3 long-range model, and that's been achieved thanks to a massive battery. But also, it uses a lot of design, some of which is very functional and very dramatic. This is clearly a long, swoopy car with a really low amount of drag, so it cuts through the air nicely. But they have had a bit of fun with the design. Look at the lighting at the front here, for example. We've got some cool LED technology. I really like this individual clusters here. It's a bit sci-fi, and it goes with this very fashionable single bar of light on the front. I'll show you what's at the back as well, because I love the lighting there. But first, let's take a look down the side. Now, this particular car runs on 20-inch wheels, but you can also get 19s as well, and they're a pretty cool design. And along the sides here, you'll see we've got flat door handles, because while they look like you pull them out, they're not. They just touch at the back, so it remains flush, helps with that design, and also keeps aerodynamic. Okay, here's your charging port, so it's not at the front for those of you who like it at the front, but around the back here, you'll spot that we've got these really cool lighting systems here. Now, we've got a 3-part layered design in there, sort of like what you get with a flat screen TV. And there is the bar which runs across the back of the car. It's quite a clean, simple design, and you'll spot the ID white Volkswagen badge here. Otherwise, just nice and tidy. What's really telling though is this roof line down here, which obviously isn't dissimilar to what you get on a Tesla Model S. Talking of the roof line, you'll have spotted that we've got glass on the top of the car here. Now, this is a panoramic sunroof, but it uses electric technology, so it can either be dim and tinted, or it can be basically clear, which is a nice feature. It will help keep the car cooler in hot weather, or it will help open up the interior if you want a bit more light in. Nice. I bet you are wondering what this new infotainment system is like, because obviously the ID ones haven't been great so far. And I promise we will get to that later in the video. But first, I wanted to talk you through the interior, because this is a big car, which is comparable to the Tesla Model S, albeit a bit taller. It's a bit of a weird one, actually. It's sort of a crossover saloon, but then it doesn't have a saloon boot. New category maybe there. But in the front, it definitely feels Tesla Model S sized. It's very big and very comfortable up here. You've got a lot of creature comforts. Massage seats are standard, for example, and they're heated as well. But I really want to show you how much storage space there is. You'll probably spot down here, we've got a big central console, and it opens up quite nicely to reveal a wireless charging port bit there, and a couple of USB-C plugs there as well. Plus, you get cup holders, 2 cup holders up here. Or if you want to remove them, you can take this whole piece out nice and easily. But as you can see, they're not very deep, certainly not deep enough for one of those popular Stanley reusable cups. So that's going to be a problem if you store them here, although there is handily a bit of space in the door. In fact, there's quite a lot of space, and it's carpeted as well. So anything you put in there, it can be a bigger cup and it won't rattle around against hard plastic. I've got a lot of room above me as well. And this nice soft armrest here matches the soft armrest on this side, and if I open it, you'll find a lot of room. Now, I'll try and illustrate with my arm as I go in. No funny laughing in the back there, but you can see how far my arm goes in. I'm elbow length in, basically, so there's a lot of storage space, which is very good, and it makes up for the fact that you've got a laughably small glove box. This thing is tiny. Big car, tiny glove box. But all right, you do get a fair bit of space that's quite hidden away down there. As for the back of the car, there is loads of space. In fact, this is much bigger than my Tesla. Not only do I have a lot more leg room and a good amount of foot room, but I've also got more headroom above me here. In fact, that seat ahead, which is set how I like it, feels really far away from me. And it's really evident as well when you look at this center console on here. You've got your own climate control, and you even get heated seats in the back as well. And you feel like everything is quite far reach away. This is limousine-like. You also get a couple of USB-C ports down there. And if you're a middle seat passenger, this has more space. The seats are less bucketed than the Model S, and compared to smaller cars like the Model 3, of course, and BMW i4, this is just a much better 5-seater. Okay, my head is quite close up here, but in terms of leg and shoulder space, it's really, really comfortable, honestly. And if your passengers in the back need their own little seats, well, the ISOFIX bar couldn't be much easier to access. All right, now it's time for the boots. And since we've got a Model S here, let's have a boot off, starting with the ID7. Now, just like that Tesla, it gets an electric tailgate, but it throws a few punches because this parcel shelf lifts up with the tailgate, exposing a very roomy boot. We have lots of space going that way and plenty going this way as well. And you have a flat floor, which is very handy if you're loading heavy items. If you need more room, you can lift up this floor and find another layer under there. It goes all the way back. You can hide your charge cables there. And if you want to hide something else away, you've got another smaller, but still very useful bit under there. Very good. The Tesla steps into the ring, and with its electric tailgate, which actually doesn't open at the moment because the battery's not flat in the key. There we go. Well, you will see, surprisingly, doesn't have a proper parcel shelf folding thingy, but you've got more room. This is a smaller car everywhere else, but in the boot, our suitcase easily slides into the back, and our umbrella, well, yeah, it's easily swallowed. You don't have as many layers underneath, but I can show you by throwing this suitcase in that, I mean, there's still lots of room, isn't there? But the Tesla is slightly bigger. But I think because of the roof line of this car, that's why you get more literage, or at least more usable literage. This thing, it's a lower, slightly less accessible boot. So Tesla technically wins on top space, but this one, probably easier to live with.
Unlike the Tesla, the ID7 has no storage space under its nose. But if it's space you want, Volkswagen is launching an ID7 Tourer model later this year.
All right, well, this is an unusual one for me because for the first time in a long time, I am driving a car that is very similar to something I live with. That Tesla Model S is a car I drive almost every day and up and down the motorway. And so this thing, well, that's going to be an easy comparison. And I can tell you from the off straight away, I'm immediately aware of the higher driving position. I have the seat set as low as it will go. And we mentioned that this car looks like it rides a bit more like a crossover, and you certainly feel that from behind the wheel. But for other buyers, well, you might be thinking it doesn't feel quite as sporty. The seats are extremely comfortable though, I have to say that. You get those massage functions and you can even upgrade them to get ventilation as well. So you are not going to be short of comfort tech. And as for how the car rides, well, we're on the adaptive suspension model, so you can adjust through different settings, and it is definitely more comfortable than my Tesla. The Tesla feels a little bit more bumpy and thumpy over ridges and cracks. This feels a lot more cushioned. You feel like you're riding higher, and therefore you feel like you've got a bit more squidge in the suspension. What about performance? For Tesla buyers, that is always going to be key because Teslas are famously quick to accelerate, even the lower rank models. And yes, okay, other cars from other manufacturers are less focused on performance, but let's see what this thing does, because just like my Tesla, it has 77 kilowatt hours of battery there or thereabouts, and it's rear motored as well. So as we come off this roundabout, let's see how it feels. Yeah, it was pretty nippy actually. God, it broke traction there, didn't it? Oh yeah, it picks up and definitely accelerates nicely. Now they claim a 0 to 62 time of 6.5 seconds, which is a bit slower than my Tesla, but it feels nice and elastic on delivery. It's not that thump you in the back. The Tesla's a little bit more exciting, but this is plenty quick enough. Oh, you can feel the rear wheels skidding up a bit, but it's quick. Yeah, I miss the Tesla's rapidness off the line though. As for handling, well, it definitely feels a bit roly-poly as it is in the standard setting, but if I switch the car off into its sportier mode, hello ID, switch to sports mode.
I've set the driving profile to sport.
Well, let's see how it is now across this roundabout. Nice and clear. And yeah, you can feel the suspension doesn't roll around quite as much. The steering's still very light. It still feels pretty much the same on the accelerator, which is to say quick, and you just feel it tense up a little bit. But this is a 2.1 ton car. It's not going to go through the corners like a sports machine, isn't it?
No, but what matters is that the ID7 feels composed and safe on the road, even when you're hammering down the motorway in greasy winter conditions.
Now let's talk about the car's range. Obviously it's claimed to come with 384 miles, which is a really good number, but I have to admit, on the dash, it's not showing what I expected to. In fact, let me ask the car what it reckons we're going to get. We're in eco mode now. Hello ID, how much range do we have in the battery?
Based on your current consumption, you can still drive 225 miles.
225 miles is what she says, and that's what I can see on the dash, and that's with 76% battery. So if I just do some mental arithmetic now, we'll know what it should be given the claimed range.
67% of a claimed 384 miles should equate to 292 miles. That's 67 more miles than what's showing on the dash. Oh dear.
And that's with this current climate where it's quite warm. It's mild today, 11 degrees for a winter day in Britain. And I also have the optional heat pump on this car. Now you want that because it uses far less range, it uses far less energy from the battery to get the car hot. Cars without the heat pump, which doesn't come as standard annoyingly, well, they are going to use even more range. So this is a best case scenario, and yet we've still got that range on the dash. At least charging speed is quite fast in this car. It's competitive with a 10 to 80% claim time of 20 minutes. That's all right. I do have to say the build quality of this ID7 is a real step above the Tesla. The Tesla's an older car now, and of course, it's catering to a different market in the US. Here, the European standard today is really good as far as the ID7 is concerned. The build quality of the interior, the materials you touch, everything feels very well made. And yeah, compared to European models like the BMW i4, this feels right up there. And that good build quality carries on into the tech you have in the car. You've got no shortage of driver assistance features, loads that help you drive this car with minimal effort, but you've also got a nice slim head-up display projected directly onto the windscreen. And if you use Volkswagen sat-nav, well, then it shows you the graphics there. But really the main tech we want to talk about in this car is the infotainment system. So let's pull over and see if it's much improved like they say. The first thing you'll be wondering is, have they illuminated those annoying slidey heater controls? And the answer to that is yes. Thankfully now they are illuminated, but they are still extremely fiddly. So you'll be able to use them in the dark, but you'll continue to be frustrated that you don't have a conventional dial. Hopefully that will come with the next update. Although, annoyingly, Volkswagen has kept these capacitive buttons on the steering wheel. Why, oh why, didn't they switch to the proper buttons like they have on the new Golf? These are very easy to accidentally press while you're driving along, and they're just not as tactile. I really don't like them. As for the infotainment screen itself, well, it's standard as 15-inch across all models, but it doesn't block your view of the road because it's tucked nice and low on the dash. And the system has actually improved. It's noticeably faster, and crucially, you get to keep key sections of the display always on screen. So your climate control or your shortcuts to some key things such as car settings are always there. And now you also have a much better voice control system if that's your thing. So you can actually say, for example, "Hello ID, turn my fan off." There we go. So that works. So if you're not used to playing around with menus, you can just talk to the car, which is really good. But also, if you do want to swipe through, well, then you've got a lot of customization. This is basically like a smartphone now. You can move stuff around, move apps, put them where you want them, shortcut your way around. And with the climate control system, which, yes, okay, it's easily accessible, it looks quite complicated here. At least you can now shortcut and save certain settings. So you can drag the positions of the fan around. So I could have, for example, ventilation blowing like this, as you can see here, move it around and have it in a unique position. Same goes for the fan speeds as well. It's very customizable, but if you just want to shortcut it, you just press and hold buttons, save them as your preferences. So that's good. It's a bit annoying though, I'd rather have dials. As for your instrument cluster ahead of you, it's really nice and slim. There's just the right amount of information in there, and then you've also got a head-up display as well, which is lovely, crisp and clear. And of course, you've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and both of them thankfully are wireless. Annoyingly, you can't project Apple or Android systems onto that head-up display. You have to use Volkswagen's maps for that. So yeah, you're probably not going to use them, are you? But anyway, it still looks good, very intuitive and very nice. All right, but overall, this interior with those upgrades to the infotainment is definitely a step in the right direction. Now, one of the crucial things with electric cars, of course, and especially with things like the Tesla, is having a one-pedal driving option, and you can turn up the regenerative tech on this car. That means you can ask the battery to take more energy back from your wheels when you're slowing down, and that enables you to do things like one-pedal driving. So as I come up to the roundabout now, I'm not really having to brake, I'm just rolling and the car decelerates. But I will say, it doesn't decelerate as much as I'd like. I'd like it to ramp up even more. You can do one-pedal driving at low speeds. The car will slow you right down without you braking, but at motorway speeds, you still have to use those brakes. So I wish they added a little bit more adjustability into that regen mode. It's a bit of a shame, but yeah, for drivers coming from petrol and moving to electric, this will feel more natural. But for those of us who are already living with electric cars, yeah, you're probably going to want it to be a little bit more adjustable. So the new ID7 does everything better than the Tesla Model S, apart from range. It's not as trustworthy, it doesn't live up to expectations, and also performance. The Model S still gives you a bigger thump in the back. So we just compared this car to the Tesla Model S, but if it's the Model 3 you're looking for, watch the video here of the MG4 X-Power. It gives even that Tesla a real run for its money.